Here at the first virtual graduate student reading event of the 25-26 school year. For anybody who is new and does not know me, my name is Joe Bauman. I am the department head for the program, and many of you have probably, hopefully, read some emails from me from time to time, so you now have a face and voice to go with the name and the annoying messages. So really quickly, just for anybody who has not attended or participated in one of these before, we've got 6 readers tonight, although the person who's supposed to be our first reader just sort of slipped out of the room, so hopefully she'll be back. I did have to, for those of you that are on the list to read, I did have to make a couple slight movings around the order. So once I get our first reader started, I will type the new order into the chat so that you can see it. We're also missing a couple of people that are still slated to read. So I may have to make some adjustments too, but I'll keep track of the chat as we go. For those of you who haven't done this before, just to give you a quick lowdown of what exactly will happen with those readers, I will spotlight each of our readers, and then they will each have 10 minutes to read whatever it is that they like. Readers, you can certainly take less than 10 minutes. No one's going to sit here and demand more reading from you if you don't hit 10 minutes. If you would like to introduce yourself or anything about what you're going to read or about your work, please feel free to do so, but please consider that part of your 10 minutes. For the sake of getting all the way through, we won't have a formal Q&A at the end, but if anybody has any questions or even affirming comments they would just like to drop for the writers in the chat, please feel free to do that. And then readers, if you would just check that chat once your turn is over, and if you want to respond to any comments or questions people have put in there, you are welcome to do so. This is being recorded, and thanks both to Beth Mead and Shayna Youngdahl, we have unearthed our program YouTube channel. And the reason I mention that is what I will do tomorrow is I will upload this recording there so that it is permanently available. And you don't have to deal with a funky Teams recording link that only work, at least for me, about half the time. But please rest assured knowing it is a private video, so you have to have the direct link from me in order to view it. So if any of you have any concerns about being, you know, having a video of you on YouTube somewhere, you don't need to worry about random folks finding that. It's privately protected within the university. Anyway, that is all I have to really say to get us started. So what I will do here is I am going to find our first reader, Ruby Carson. I'm going to go ahead. There you are, Ruby. I'm going to spotlight you, and then I will shut up, and the microphone is yours for the next up to 10 minutes, and you can take it away.
Hello, everyone. I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay. The first one is Youth, is the name. I am too young to have these feelings of a woman, heart pounding in my chest, as my mother had me when she was young. I can accept the consequence of an unplanned pregnancy. My grandmother had her when she was young. What might happen if I take this action? Meet him after school in the gym, behind the bleachers at 12 in the afternoon. My belly will start growing for some unknown reason. What if he asks me to do, you know what? Say no and lose him forever? And my heart will break as my mother's heart have broken before. Okay, next one is Country Girl. Country girl talk her mess. Country girl walks with a limp in her cowboy boots. Country girl slurs her words slowly on her tongue. She lets the words roll. Country girls talk with an accent, swinging her hips to the rhythm of the music, to the melodic sounds. Mama married twice. Mama's children said, Ruby talks funny with a country slang. She talks like her family from Georgia and Texas. She is supposed to speak that way. She loves to hear her folks talk. Okay, the third one is called Books. Books. Okay. Holding each other's bodies close. Search for body parts. He forgot about the others. He loves me. Under the moon. Stare into his eyes. Brown, aqua blue. Reach for his muscular arms. He holds my body across his chest, gives me a handkerchief to wipe my tears. He grabs a book next to me on the shelf. His deep voice sounds, trembles. Through my arched back, through my body's vibration, a sense of wholeness. Okay, the next one's called Love. Find a boy to love me, to understand my awkwardness, with my quirks, my imperfections. Take me to the prom, put a flower around my waist, dance hard, sweat roll down my sideburns, rose flower water caress my skin, his hands around my waist, a golden book of life. Will he be there for me and comfort me when I'm down? Marry me under the sun, the blazing sun. Will he love me and comfort me when I lose my job? Will he love me when I'm older, when I walk with a limp, when my breast is flat? Will he love me? And the last one is called this Boy. Boy waits for her at the bus stop. Brown eyes, William, sun god to her, comfort to her. Sun god blessed his face with high cheekbones as the school bus holds her hand gently. He walks her off the bus. Queenie's a meanie because Queenie made me late today. Strong 8-year-old William holds her book in his hand, walks to the lunchroom. Now he's a fantasy. William is dead. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Ruby. I will free you from the spotlight and all of those prying eyes. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, let's see. Next, who did I say was next? I've already lost track of how I ordered. Okay, so next we have Bailey. So Bailey, just let me find you. There you are. It's like a little like Where's Waldo, right? In the Microsoft Teams world. So Bailey, I will go ahead and get you spotlit, and you can take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to start out with a poem called Better. So I looked over the edge, saw the eyes of the world. Oh, I should probably mention there's a brief mention of sexual assault before I start. So just so you guys are aware. I looked over the edge, saw the eyes of the world judging. A woman touched means a woman of less value, moral character, right? The church says so. Immorality and purity doesn't account for the women touched without permission, groped at a bar, catcalled in the streets, women in denim jeans. Definition doesn't care how it happened, how absolutely unfair, how demanding the despair. How can I make a place in this world when it's already been decided, divided by hate, scorn, born of misguided judgment calls of what consent means, what unwanted physical touch is? I cry myself to sleep some nights thinking about how women everywhere villain origin stories like children out of their bodies because someone thought no was an open invitation for sex. I cry for my sisters everywhere in this country and the next, where a rapist gets 6 months and women get stripped of their dignity, respect forever. I can't help but want to scream, howl, rage on, though for something better, better, better. We have to do better. Can't let this go on. Can't let them, men, terrorize them, our sisters, daughters, mothers, other men. Can't fall to their demand to bow our heads, accept our sin, nor forget and let them go on, nor win. We have to do better. We have to break the silence. So that was my first poem. And then I'm going to read another one called The Church of Girlhood. I saw a sister embrace girlhood, a mighty conversion to the church, but bitterly opposite. No pews or Bible to swear in on, just holding tampons in her purse, even though she doesn't bleed, to pass to sisters under stall walls, sisters you and sisters me. She carries herself proper, wears her pink gingham skirts, high heels, sometimes platforms, even though like all women, her feet hurt. She gets catcalled by men in souped up trucks, a quintessential unwelcome experience, something all girls can agree sucks. But when her documentation came back after waiting for so long, for some reason unfathomable, they said she wasn't girl enough at all. And then I will go ahead and read, they came for them first. First, they came for the environment, whose lungs more metaphorical than real. They came for her breath, her atmosphere, her protective shell because it was bad for production. Then they came for the elderly, for veterans old who served and fought in wars still alive in mind and spirit and memory. For their health, their life, their wrinkled skin and deteriorating bones, prosthetic limbs. They came for your daughters, mothers, and sisters who went to church in floral sundresses, who had complications during childbirth, even though for a baby they prayed. Nothing can be done, no one to save, abolished now is Roe v. Wade. They wore their outfits modest and severe, but still as they walked home, the bad men persevered. They came for your children, little boys and little girls, who toddled along knowing nothing of this world. A doctor's appointment, no longer a few bucks, because children don't need public health care. They went starving at lunch, and their friend from a more privileged neighborhood, a peanut butter and sandwich dug in, and the whole time you didn't care because they hadn't come for you, but trust me, oh trust me, the pattern will continue. And then I have one more, if I can find it. This one is called Real Estate by the Ocean. And yeah, I tell my sister that she can grow up in this world being queer and loving women or men or whoever she wants. I sell it to her. Like, there's places you can go where it's okay to be whoever it is you want to be and to love whoever you want to love. No matter, there's a place for you where you can just be whoever it is you are. I sell it to her like real estate on the ocean. Seems stable, but it's falling in. I tell her there's a place where she can be who she is. I sell it to her that she can be who she is, even though I don't know what will happen tomorrow when the coastline will finally collapse. And then that's all for you guys. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Bailey. And just really quickly, I wanted to remind everybody after Ruby was done, if you had any affirming comments you wanted to leave for any of our writers or questions you wanted to ask them in between or during their readings, please do so in the chat. Feel free to do that. Okay, let's see. Let me find our next. I almost jokingly said victim. I guess I did. Let's see. I'm realizing right now at this moment that I forgot to check in with everyone to make sure I was going to pronounce names correctly. So if I get anything wrong, please forgive me and feel free to correct me. And you're in my class. Do you go by, is it Elias? Am I pronouncing that right? Or is it?
Yep.
Okay. Did I get it? Okay, sweet.
You got it.
You know, so I realize right when I have to introduce people that I forget to check and make sure I'm pronouncing all of both first and last names right, but at least I guessed correctly. All right, I will shut up and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Elias Johnson. This is my last semester in the program. So I am going to read two different short pieces. One is nonfiction and one is flash fiction. And I wrote them both while I was here at Lindenwood. So I wanted to pick something that I had written here. All right. Shiny black stones. Standing in a small, forgotten cemetery on a blustery but still sunny day in central New Hampshire, I couldn't quite believe how far I had come. I mean that both literally. I had not only walked the cemetery uphill from my hotel for nearly an hour, but I had taken a bus all the way to this rural corner of New Hampshire. And figuratively, I had first intended to come to this place in 2018 when I was going to grad school in Boston for my first master's. But now it was 2023. Most of my adult life had been spent in the dogged pursuit of knowledge about the man and the woman whose elegant tombstones I'd come to see, whose final resting places I'd come to pay tribute to, whose ghosts I hoped heard me say hello to them. When it came to actually witnessing Claude Rains's grave, and his final wife's as well, I didn't know what to say. Red Hill Cemetery is isolated. It sits right next to a house where children clearly live and play. Nothing else is really near it. The house was clearly built after the cemetery was established. One almost wonders why the people who built the house decided to do so right next to a white picket fence cemetery. I tried to choke out some poetry. Claude liked the modern American poets of his prime, the 1930s and 40s, more conservative writers in scope and form than what would follow. I had a copy of Richard II I'd acquired with the intent of letting Claude hear his favorite Shakespeare play for the first time since 1967, maybe. But when I tried to read it, I just began to sob. People do visit his grave other than me. They tend to be fans of his more prominent film works, such as The Invisible Man. They've left a DVD of it. He never got to perform Shakespeare on film. Only one public recording of him performing The Great Will exists, a Hollywood radio show version of Julius Caesar. and he is easily the best part. I wonder if he gets to hear the children play and dogs bark and cars whiz past on the back road that runs past Red Hill. I do wonder what he made of a short young man, even shorter than he was, my 5'1" to his 5'6", huffing up a hill on foot more than 50 years after he died, coming to pay tribute in a stylish blazer and vest combination, binder worn underneath it all. I wonder if he marveled at the fact that I came not just to pay tribute to him, as most do, but also to thank wife number 6, Rosemary, who predeceased him by 3 or so years, but who finally allowed him to experience unconditional love after a troubled youth and rocky personal life. I wonder if, when he picked out his plot and had those stylish black headstones designed, he thought anyone would come to Moultonborough, New Hampshire to see him at all. I don't think he'd imagined the young man would come back to his neck of the woods again, though. Too far, too isolated, too much walking. I do hope to return someday, though, especially now that I drive a little Subaru Impreza, and now that I'm just an hour and a half journey away in Boston. Sometimes I like to think that if ghosts became real, he could be waiting there for me when I drive up. Maybe I could take him on a drive of his last neighborhood, show him what the road looks like beyond his pocket of it, which hasn't changed hardly at all since 1967. Maybe he'd be amused at how far I came, even if it was just from Massachusetts. Maybe he'd be delighted by how far my car could go and how quickly. But honestly, I think he'd probably just want to stay at Red Hill. That's where she is. That's where he decided to rest his bones one final time. But I'll still visit him again, leaving behind a little bit of myself each time I go, too. All right, that was the nonfiction piece, obviously. And this is the fiction piece. The Last of the Mohicans. The boyish foreign tyrant wears fawn-colored desert boots, despite the fact that he's never actually been to the desert, never seen a desert. He only ever heard about them in the stories his murdered sisters told him, and they hadn't seen deserts either. He survived the plundering of his family because he was young and malleable and would give the actual political powers some strange credibility. After all, if the last survivor of the royal family trusts them, shouldn't everyone else? Those same political powers believed he was a simpleton, same as his miserable father, who was never effective and only really driven by a half-baked hate of the other. In the speech he gave after wiping the political powers out, save for his sole ally, a traitor of the proletariat, he referenced the original patriarch of his family, a young exile who lived with his mother in a monastery, chosen only because he had genetic ties to the country's worst tyrants, to that point, favorite wife. The reasoning went that he had the same amount of family ties as the old tyrant's murdered sons, as well as the idea that he could be easily led by men who actually had the power. I do not think the reasoning in all these cases has been very strong. Just because a boy is frail physically doesn't mean his mind is necessarily useless. Just because the most influential people in a young man's life were his sisters or his mother or a half-mad mystic doesn't mean he can't act the man when necessary. The boyish foreign tyrant, who is nearly 40, speaks mildly accented English at our talks and sounds more proper than our mutual ally, the Prime Minister. Most of his ministers and generals do not speak English, and he translates for them. I believe, had he been born a century from now, he'd be more a diplomat than a ruthless tyrant. The reports out of his country are not good, but one can't ignore that he's held the border strong and he never once compromised with the Axis powers, less because he disagrees with their hate and more because old ancestral wounds run deep. Still, my advisors tell me not to get too close to him and not to let on anything that we know. The outposts in New Mexico and Tennessee and Washington have to remain a secret. We can't use them as a cudgel. I argued that I should bring my vice president to this conference. He should know what I know, and he should know the men we consider to be our allies. The advisors say it's all on a need-to-know basis, and he doesn't yet need to know. My wife looked at me before I left on this trip, and she tissed, reminding me rather of my mother when I came back from college on a break, limping and worn. You don't have much time left, my wife said matter-of-factly, before patting me on the shoulder and going off on her own adventures somewhere in the West Virginia mountains. On the final evening of the conference, my aide wheels me out to a balcony, and I look out over a plummeting cliff and the clear lake down below. On his own balcony, clutching his cane, the boyish tyrant stands in his desert boots, puffing on a cigarette. He turns to me, eyes gleaming, cigarette glowing, and he smiles. It is good you have a succession plan in place, no? And then, my great-grandfather was in power when your Lincoln was shot. It was a bit of a shock. And your great-grandfather was killed not that long after. Indeed, and we still have no better succession plan in place other than producing heirs. He flicks the cigarette over the balcony, and I wonder if he knows this has been a dry spring. You have no issue. He chuckles, coughs, and grips his cane. Yes, Last of the Mohicans, I think you might say. I never read that book, but I know it didn't end well for the Indians. He hobbles back into his room, and I stare down, imagining a lone cigarette butt setting the world on fire. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Elias. For you from the spotlight here. Excellent, excellent. All right. We will move on next to our next reader. If I can find theirs. Okay, just want to make sure I got going in the right order here. When I change it myself 3 times, then I get confused. Okay, next we have Keith Kaplan. So there you are. Found you, Keith. And I will mute myself, and the virtual mic and podium are yours.
All right, thank you so much. I've got a couple of pieces I'm going to read tonight. The first one is a poem. It's called Committal. Rich, inviting, vibrant hues of redness flood the floor with memories of the past. The time before the altar at the cloisters, where whistling winds mindlessly blew fast. The time when perched upon a park bench, I kneeled to you with glimmer hand in hand. The bonds we made were long and everlasting. The words we spoke, we etched in grains of sand. I lied to you about my daughter, Emmy. I told myself you didn't need to know. A drunkard's hasty moves are non-essential, like footsteps quickly covered in the snow. Dear Emmy's life was filled with false pretenses, shred promises, marauders, and charades. What once was white gradually grows darker. At first the calm, then gradually cascades. She rose up in the night without a warning. I swallowed hard and pushed the door airtight. I staggered to the bar stool for a landing, drowned myself in shots of doer's light. Teetered on the precipice of mountains, my tattered soul blown hopelessly apart. I wrestled with Shakespearean transgressions and struggled from a much misshapen heart. I knew you'd be at home at 10 last evening. I listened for the jingle of your keys. I clutched the rigid ice pick in my fingers and prayed for strength and vigor in my knees. You never wanted children, you had stated, never had a need for ties that bind. I trust you'll be content off on your own now. I'm sure, I laugh out loud, you wouldn't mind. All right, so that's that guy. And then something a little bit lighter. I'm sure some of you participate in some writing contests. I just participated. It's a Midnight NYC is the organization. And this was their rhyming story challenge. My genre was romantic comedy, and I had to include the sentiments of glum and exclusivity. So I thought this was a little fun. It's called Now Nanette's Rising. Splat in the woods of Kentucky, 'twas a lass with long auburn hair, who soured on love and affection, and anguished each day with despair. Bobby Joe's wedding day was approaching. They'd cleaned up the barn and the shed, lay down tile for country folks dancing, and painted the barn crimson red. Sally Sue'd be attending with old Boxcar, Linda Lou'd be at Scooter's right hand, and the leftover girls would be bouncing with curls at the side of their dim-witted mans. Would Nanette be the only one solo? It was likely it would be the case. She'd been gossip for all of the townsfolk. You could tell by the scowl on her face. Should have been her at the altar, but Diesel'd been messing around. She dumped him like trash the next morning. There was whispering all over town. Bless her heart, they exclaimed. Ain't she special? Wants a man all to her own. If we each had such high expectations, then we'd live our darn lives all alone. But the day of the nuptials, she surprised them. Oops, I blew my page there. Let's try that again. But the day of the nuptials, she surprised him, arrived in a shapely red chiffon dress, not the slightest scent of discomfort, nary a sign of distress. Sat near the front on the bride's side, in sight of all rank and file, no chance for her tail to be hidden, or perhaps she was just in denial. She stood and she clapped and she catcalled when the judge named the pair man and wife, tossed rice overhead at their exit, and wished them a long, happy life. Then off to the barn for the fixins, and first at the line for the lamb. She was clearly a force to be reckoned, would be damned if she needed a man. Later, she lit up the dance floor, square dancing alone and with flair. She was clearly the star of the evening, and the light glowed her long auburn hair. Sparky was taking the photos of the bride and the groom on their day, but no matter how hard he would focus, Nanette somehow got in his way. But Sparky was Mr. Persistent and gave her a tap on the back, but just as he reached her, she shimmied, and his palm caught the top of her rack. I'm Nanette, she exclaimed. Pleased to meet you. That's a mighty fine way to be greeted. Then Sparky turned red with embarrassment, and the first thing he did, he retreated. But he stopped and he smiled and he curtsied. I regret my untimely advance, but I'm happy to make your acquaintance, even if it was solely by chance. Accepted, she spoke matter-of-factly, and I can see you've been pretty busy, snapping photos of Bobby and Diesel before that heathen puts her in a tizzy. Good heavens, I'm just here for the photos. I can't vouch for the groom nor the bride. I recorded the main ceremony and candids when we came inside. But beyond that, we've got no relations. Neither are really my style. I prefer more demure, maybe witty, hard to find in this country mile. You'd be surprised what you find when you're looking. Sometimes it's right under your nose, but one sneeze and you miss the occasion, and you're back to step one, I suppose. Then Nanette, can I ask what you're doing in red when the reception is through? Some coffee, dessert, would you care for, if you've nothing better to do? I declare, said Nanette, that's good business. I'd be pleased as pie to accept. Then they both shook hands to confirm it, and happily ever after they left. And that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Great, excellent. Thank you so much, Keith. That's such a very specific prompt that they gave. I guess that makes really hard to write anything in advance, huh? I'm vaguely familiar with that contest.
They make it challenging, yep.
Yeah. Well, great. Very nice. Excellent. Let's see. Mia, I know you were going to be traveling to become available. I think our person that was going to be before you is not going to make it. Are you all set to go, or do you need a minute?
I need 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, you are fine.
I just got home and.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Take your time. This will give me some time to make a couple just quick announcements and reminders about upcoming things. So take a breath. We got plenty of time. So if you need a second to get yourself situated, do not worry. So just a couple quick things about some upcoming things that will also be mentioned in the very fancy newsletter that will come out next Wednesday on the 1st. First of all, just a reminder that if for both students and instructors who are here, if and as you have news about your writerly oriented activities, there's nothing too small or, of course, anything too big for me to include in that newsletter. I like to share all of the happenings and successes that people have. So please, 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 as you have those writing related or even only barely writing adjacent accomplishments to share, please do share those with me. But next Wednesday, October 1st, I don't believe Shayna's not here tonight, but I don't believe she has sent out the link yet, but our first virtual craft talk, where she will be in conversation with the visiting writer, is next Wednesday at this time, 7 p.m. So that link should be coming out shortly, with the poet Ma Shane Wen. So please, that will be recorded. So if you cannot come live, please don't worry. You'll be able to watch that later, but that's next Wednesday. And then on October 6th, we will have our now regularly scheduled course expo. Instructors, don't worry, I'm sending you a message about this tomorrow, so you haven't missed anything. But what that is, for those of you who have not attended or heard of that yet, is it's a short, again, 1 hour will be recorded event where faculty will talk about the classes that they will be teaching this upcoming spring and summer. That schedule, by the way, is available on Lindenwood's website now, and I will also be tomorrow uploading a document with all of the descriptions of those spring and summer classes to the MFA students Canvas page. So you'll be able to find those tomorrow on the MFA students Canvas page. If you go to the first module, the MFA department head information, announcements, blah, blah, blah. I'll get that posted along with the link to this recording. So lots of stuff going on in October. And then we do have a reading, or I'm sorry, our next virtual craft talk from another writer will be on November 10th. That will be with novelist Kevin Fenton. And then our second of these readings is on November 18th. No need to memorize any of that. You will be getting messages, and the newsletter will have those links and information in them. So a nice full semester full of exciting events. And then we will, of course, end the semester with those of you that are enrolled currently in the thesis course, and anyone who finished it this past summer, you will be getting an invitation from Shana Youngdahl as well later in the semester if you would like to participate in a short reading of material from those thesis projects as a celebration of your final projects either being completed or very hopefully close to at that time. So those are my very quick announcements that I just wanted to make. I also want to just once again say thank you to everyone for being here. And let's see, Mia, have I stalled long enough? Are you all set? Again, if you need another minute, no problem.
1 minute.
Okay, well, I gotta give you another. Does anybody have any exciting updates about anything in the writing world that they would like to share while we give her a second? Just hum a little tune. I will have a couple of interesting publishing opportunities in the October newsletter for students that are looking for places to go. Ted, did you have something?
Joe?
I saw you unmute. Yeah.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
can I plug my podcast, my totally free podcast, A Lesson Before Writing? Comes out once a month. Two writer buddies and I just chat about writing and publishing and teaching writing. And we have a featured short story each month, recently published in a literary journal that we discussed and talk about, technique and that kind of thing. So available on YouTube,
Absolutely.
Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Again, totally free. So this is not an advertisement for money.
Yeah.
Just check it out. Lesson Before Writing.
No, that's great. I put a link to the new episode in the newsletter, so that will be in there when people get that. But if you want to toss a link to, I know you have a website for it. If you want to toss a link to that into the chat, please feel free, Ted. I don't think anyone's going to and nobody should complain about free resources for people talking about their work and what they're up to. Okay, Mia, it looks like you're here and ready to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
hopefully.
Nah, you'll be fine. All right, I'm going to put you in the spotlight, and then I will mute myself, and the stage is yours.
Okay, well, here goes nothing. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mia Janvier, and I'm going to be reading an excerpt from a script that I wrote with my writing partner, Lauren Hicks, who will be attending Lindenwood in the future. So I'm going to start with a scene called Lily's Room. Connor's apartment, Lily's room, moments later. This is a screenplay, by the way. I'm sorry if I said it. Sorry. Lily crashes down on the couch in front of her bed. She stares reluctantly at the study desk, then slams her face back on the pillow. So fucking tired. Lily then looks up at the clock and jerks back up. Shit, it's 9:45. Project's due. She sits on her study desk and opens up her Python textbook. A few hours later, she submits her homework. She then looks back at the clock. It was 11:59. As she shuts down her browser, she sees a picture of her late abuela on the desktop. She smiles briefly, then picks up the photo from the frame on her desk. A single tear, sorry, a text came through, sorry. And then now it's blocking my screen. Okay, wonderful times. A single teardrop falls from her eye. God, I wish you were still here. She then goes back to her couch to sit for a moment. She then stares up at the closed window aimlessly. Then she reaches in her pocket for a stick of gum and accidentally nicks herself. Ouch! She reaches in her pocket and pulls out a CD now smeared with her blood. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Lily gets back up and heads to her bathroom to wash her hands and gets a cloth to wipe the blood off from her pocket. As she washes the blood, the CD starts absorbing her blood and rejuvenating itself. Sorry if that was gross. My partner tells me stop saying that. Lily then walks over to her desk to find the CD cleaned. What the Confused, Lily looks around her desk, then sits back on her gaming chair. Leaning back, she stares at the clean CD for a moment. Spooky much? She waits, then suddenly the window behind her blasts open. Oh shit, no more Five Nights at Freddy's for me. Lily jumps up and slowly walks over to the bedroom window. She then looks around but sees and hears nothing. She slowly closes it, locking it from within inside. Then she walks back to her desk and picks up the CD and observes it. She slowly rubs the label with her fingers. Still warm. She then inserts it into her laptop, watching it as it's loading. The CD hums whilst it's loading. She then gets up to grab a soda from her mini fridge, quickly opening it to take a sip. She then walks back to her chair. When seated, she hears a strange noise behind her and turns around but sees nothing. She grabs her drink, taking another sip, but when she turns to face her laptop, she spits out the contents of the soda. Oh, what? Oh my God, what the? Lily sees a horrifying animation of an 18th century samurai staring directly at her. Its movement mirrors hers, step by step. Hello, Lily. Lily's frozen, disturbed. She attempts to eject the CD, pressing the F4 key repeatedly, but fails. Not very wise. Why not stay and play and win a surprise? What in hell? Why won't the eject button? Now, Lily, don't you want a friend? I can be your wish maker, but only if you win. Win? No thanks. I'm good. Wait, what? How do you know my name? Your files give you away, no secrets left unturned. But if you play with me, treasures you will earn. So you're like a video game? I'm so much more than a game. I am Jin. Yet if it's all the same, a gift awaits you. Friend, shall we begin? Lily sits back, confused for a moment. Then a smile slowly emerges. You're a samurai that spits poetry, but calls yourself a Jin? I'm sorry. I'm not really convinced and don't care if I win. The Jin smile fades, then slowly returns. Lily jumps back, frightened by its reaction. Clever creature you are, Lily. You think you have me pinned. There was a time when all man was one until man fell to sin. Nevertheless, I'm still Jin. Okay, Jin, what do you want? A game, Lily. One you must play and win. Then I will grant you one wish in return. Now shall we begin? Okay, so you just want to play? After a few hours, Lily is smiling. She navigates the first round of the game victoriously and with the highest points ever. Too easy, baby. I'm sorry, I'm missing this line. Too easy. I'm tier 1, baby. I shit games for breakfast. King Kong ain't got. Congratulations, Lily Ambrosia. Your wish has been granted. What? Well, ain't this some mother-loving Lily watches the gym disappear. Her monitor screen goes black. Stupid freaking game. Lily is now taken back by an unexpected knock at the door. She quickly leaves the room, uh, waiting walking to the front door. Sorry. Lily opens the door to find Lex Kai on the other side. Lex seems surprised to see her too. Their eyes meet. Hi, sorry to bother you, but I think my package was delivered to your doorstep. Lily holds up the phone and Lex holds up his phone and slowly shows Lily a screenshot of his Amazon delivery notification. She nervously looks back towards him. Yeah, of course, come in. Lily steps back to let Lex in. He moves in slowly, staring about. I'll look for it. Lily starts looking for the package but doesn't see it, then notices the Amazon box sticking out of the trash, but turns to see Lex's hands in his face, standing midway in the living room. Hi, couldn't find anything. I can wake the kids. Don't. Want to sit? Sure. Lex sits. Lily moves closer, but sprouts back up. Am I good on time? I don't know how much time I have, and there's about 2 more pages.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Lex sits. Lily moves in closer to him, but sprouts back up. I'll get us something to drink, okay? If it's not too much trouble. No, not at all. Don't worry about it. Everyone's asleep by now. Everyone? Yeah, I'm the Connors live-in nanny. So Oh, cool. My mom did that for a while. Until, well. Well, I'll be right back then. Don't disappear, okay? Roger. Lily brings out a tray with tea and treats, sitting it on a coffee table in front of them. She pours Lex a cup of tea, then Lex takes the tea and takes a sip. Lily could see the emotions weighing heavily on him. She stares aimlessly at the leaves. He stares aimlessly at the leaves. Then Lily grabs a cookie, but then Lex turns to her to speak, so she puts the cookie down. Man, I just needed to get out. I don't know what I need anymore. Lex runs his hands through his luxurious hair. He puts down the tea. She then slowly takes his hand. He turns to face her, and a single tear falls from his eye. It's like you never know someone, you know? I was ready to settle down with her, and she betrayed me for a fucking IG cover? What type of I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. Lex unknowingly grabs Lily's hands. She struggled to keep her composure whilst listening to his plight. Lex stops for a minute. Lily props up, then speaks. It's okay. I was up and well. If you need a friend, I'm always here for it. Lex looks at her deeply. You wouldn't do that to me, would you? Would you hurt me like that? Lily can't move. She stares in shock, nervous, but reassuringly. No, I would never hurt you. Then the two were eye to eye, studying each other carefully. An anxious Lex then speaks to Lily softly. Your eyes are hazel green. So is my mom's. Was? Lex is taken away with passion. He takes Lily, they're both hand in hand now, sorry, then gently moves in closer. A catatonic Lily realizes his advances and obediently closes her eyes. Yes, I won. As the two move in closer, a nosy Mrs. Connor trips and finally enters the room. Is everything okay in here? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Lily dutifully responds, quickly getting up to approach her. Lex follows behind her. Lex speaks first. Hi, Mrs. Connors. I'm your neighbor and I came here for something and well, he wanted to borrow the phone, right? Then we got to talking and that was that. Lily hastily responds, covering for Lex. Miss Connors smiles at Lily. No, you two didn't wake me at all. I was just here for more of Lily's famous tres leches. Turning to Lex, hey, Lily is amazing. She's an amazing cook. Lex smiles at Lily, blushing for a moment. Sounds good, but I really gotta go. It's getting late. I really should be going now, so... Lex prepares to leave, but turns back to face Lily's blush-filled cheeks. Excuse me. I'd really like to stop by sometime. Mrs. Connor smiles at Lily, winking. Well, what do you say? Before Lily could respond, she notices the June's active on her laptop now. There's a message on her PC signaling the beginning of a new game. The notification reads, "Wish granted. Would you like to play again?" End.
All right, great. Thank you, Mia. Take a deep breath. That was great. No, nothing to worry about. Excellent. Here, I'll get you out of the spotlight, which can feel like a lot. Well, thank you all so much, everyone. That's all of our readers for tonight. What a great combination. We had some poetry, we had some nonfiction, we had some fiction, and we had some screenwriting. I think that's the first of these where we've gotten a little bit of all four of those categories. So thanks for the great. We'll just give you all credit and pretend that you all arranged it that way. So thank you all very much for being here, and more information about the next of these will be coming as it gets closer. But like I said, just on the short term, just be on the lookout for links for next week's Visiting Craft Writer Talk, and then our Course Expo a little bit thereafter. Thanks everyone for being here, and I hope you all have an excellent evening. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.